It's time for me to call the regular meeting of Greenwood County Council for Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020 to order. And we welcome each and every one of you here with us this evening. Appreciate you being here. We have 6 council members present with us in person, and we have Mr. Templeton, who was with us by video conference.
Shortly. He hasn't signed in yet.
We don't have Mr. Templeton with us. We have 6 members, and that constitutes a quorum. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, the date, the time, the location, and the agenda of this meeting's been posted on the front entrance of the Greenwood County Courthouse and also on the front entrance of the Greenwood County Library. A copy of that agenda has been made available to the media and also has been posted on the county's website. I'm going to ask Councilman Mark Allison to give our invocation, which will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Let us please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you that even in this time of uncertainty that you are faithful and have always been found faithful. But our prayer tonight is that in this time of uncertainty, you would give our national, our state, and us as local leaders the wisdom and the knowledge to do the things that will be in the best interest of those in which you have entrusted us to serve. We ask that your blessings, your guidance, your wisdom, and your courage would be present in our meeting tonight. It's in the name of Jesus we ask these and all things. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have been provided with a copy of the minutes of the April 7th, 2020 regular meeting. Are there any changes to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion and a second that they stand approved?
So moved, Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Lane, second by Dr. Moats. All in favor? And those minutes are approved. First item of business on our agenda is a presentation on the Forfeited Land Commission by Karen Davis, our Greenwood County Delinquent Tax Collector. Welcome, Karen.
Our treasurer had talked to you a couple weeks ago about forfeited land. She said that you all would like a little bit more information. So I put together just a short synopsis of it. The forfeited land is called FLC. If you call me, that's what I'm going to call it. It's defined in the Code of Law in Chapter 59, Title 12, and the commission is made up of the county treasurer, the clerk of court, and the county auditor. I am not part of that. I do help them, but that is your commission. The FLC, via the auditor's office, provides the bid for the tax sales. When we start in October, all of the property that we carry to sell has to have a bid that is bidded in on behalf of the Forfeited Land Commission. Does not require the Forfeited Land Commission to take the property, but it has to be started by them by law. The properties which do not receive a bid at that auction that day can be sold or disposed of by the Forfeited Land Commission. We usually do this once a year in June. We make it open to the public. We put an ad in the paper. We make it so that everyone has a chance, an equal chance to bid on this property. We take sealed bids. Those bids, when we provide the list, the sealed bid consists of the delinquent taxes, the deed, the documentary stamps, and the recording. If the person that puts in a bid, if we have multiples, it goes to the highest bidder, and that person becomes the owner of the property. On average, there's between 200 and 300 properties I sell a year. This includes the mobile homes along with the real estate. And an example of 2018, 55 properties we received no bids. Of those 55, 22 became property of the forfeited land. that will need to either be sold or disposed of somehow. And the forfeited land gets that money. It is not something that we are here to make money off of, but if the forfeited land makes $1 more, it goes in there and we use it for advertisement in the paper, or it may require notices or whatever. In 2019, there were 19 real estates and 4 mobile homes that were sold through this process that we do in June. That was a good year for us. And through that, we were able to dispose of 19 real estate, 4 mobile homes, and we also were able, in that process, 3 properties that from 2005 that was in the forfeited land's name. Back then, we were required to take it. We were able also to sell those to a new individual. That process last year brought us $17,500 in unpaid taxes. So this is a way we found that when the bidder, when the defaulting bidder, I should say, the defaulting taxpayer decides they don't want to pay the taxes, they usually say, well, I'll just give it to the county. And this is our way to put this money back into the county, get our back taxes, get this property back where we've got a taxpayer paying these taxes. Currently, there are 118 real estate properties, and there's 24 mobile homes that the forfeited land oversees. And this will be, we're looking at June this year of actually putting it back out for bids again, seal bids, advertise it, to see how many of these properties we can actually get tax dollars, and we can actually get this back on the tax roll. We do not sell these every year because on average the cost for one is about $250 to $300. So if we didn't get a bid the first year, we don't go back and try to sell the next year because that's at minimum $300 we're losing. So that's why we do the seal bids. We just keep it with a flag on it so we know which ones those are, and then we put it out for seal bids once a year. We have contacted the Department of Revenue for the Forfeited Land Commission because our committee is fairly new and they're learning the process and what they have to do as a commission person. So we have reached out to them, and then COVID struck, so we have not been able to have the meeting, but they are going to come in and give us an overview of what the commission is required by law to do. Do I have any questions? Okay.
When was the FLC created?
I'd have to go back and look. I've been here 23 years and it was already in place
Oh,
before
I'm
me.
sorry, I thought you were saying, are you saying the commissioners now are new in their role?
Yes, the commissioners now are new.
And
Is
tell me again who those people
the
are.
treasurer, the county auditor, and the clerk of court.
Thank you.
Is there a process in place that if some of these properties that become part of the Forfeited Land Commission, if they're derelict, is there a process by which the dilapidated structure or whatever may be on that property is removed and the community is made better? Or do we just allow it to remain derelict?
If the city contacts me or the towns contact us and they make us aware that they're going to tear it down through a condemnation or whatever, we allow that. And we tell the people putting in the seal bids, we're not guaranteeing what's there. We're just telling you we've got delinquent taxes, and that's what we're looking for, is our taxes.
Just seems like to me it's an opportunity to work with the administration of the county to remove some blighted properties. Just let them sit there doesn't help the communities in which they reside or which they
It
sit.
usually comes down to money because
Understand.
the law does not allow the forfeited land to get compensated or to compensate anyone. If we're, I call it lucky in that we get a higher bid than what the taxes are, we do set that money aside, but it's never enough to tear down a structure.
Ms. Karen, you said something a minute ago about $300. You were referencing cost and not, were you saying you don't advertise them in successive years?
The initial year that it goes to sale, we do advertise, and that's why I can tell you there's 300.
Each parcel? You
Each
advertise
parcel. Each one of
individually?
them, yes, each one of them that's in the forfeited land right now that we're trying to dispose of have been to a tax sale, and we did not get a bid.
Thank you.
Any other questions by council?
Where are these properties listed, you said?
that are for sale?
We have a list that we put out in June for the public so they can come and look at them. But they're all over the county.
Come to your office to see the list.
That we tell them to come to the treasurer's office and we provide them a list at that time.
You don't put it in the newspaper or?
No, we usually, because the list can change, we just tell them to come by and, because we have to prepare the list.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Karen. I'm sure if anyone on council does have a question, we can process it and through the administrative channels and get your questions answered by the staff. This time it is on our agenda, it's time for public comment, and we have one person who has signed up for public comment. Mr. Bill Gilbert from 220 Deer Run Lane in Greenwood, and he has requested, according to my agenda, it's item G, ordinance 2020-08, to amend the village and cottages at Palmetto Crossing Plan Development District, being ordinance 2018-13 as and if amended so that the plan development master plan will allow pavilion and golf cart parking. That is the item of business on our agenda that I will allow Mr. Gilbert to speak to. Mr. Gilbert, would you please come forward at this time? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Bill Gilbert, and I'd like to cover very briefly 2 points about the pavilion. The first is that it was declined by the planning board, but the vote was either 5-4 with one abstention or 6-5 with one abstention. It was a very close vote. And the staff reason at that time for recommending that it not be approved was that there weren't enough people to use the pavilion. And that's true. We had one cottage at the time that had full-time residents in the cottage. Since that time, we have 3 full-time cottages, and we have a 4th under contract that will be full-time family. And we have one other cottage that is completed but not sold. We started a marketing campaign in mid-February, ran for 4 weeks, and received about 150 interested prospects for the cottages, and we're working those around the COVID-19. The second point I would like to make is that the pavilion is a service to the property owners. If you, several months ago, voted to allow us to build a community dock, we have constructed the first 4 slips, and the pavilion allows the property owner voters an opportunity to go to the restroom and to stage their coolers and so forth before they get on the boat or after they've been out on the boat. It also allows the, excuse me, it also allows them to park their golf carts because we're providing off pavement, off parking for the golf carts on our property. And thirdly, and most importantly, it allows those with special needs to get from the road level to the dock level, which is about a 10-foot drop. We're building handicap ramps as part of this project. So I would hope that you would consider this and vote in favor of this amendment when it comes up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
I'm sorry, were there any questions?
We'll be having a public hearing on this matter later on, so we'll have the questions then. New business, first item is consideration of H-tax application for the town of Ware Shows in the amount of $25,000 for expenses related to the Ware Shows Amphitheater project. Brian Ross. Welcome, Mr. Ross.
Thank you very much. My name is Brian Ross, and I serve on the Ware Shoals Town Council, and I'm also the chairman of community events for Ware Shoals. We started the project last year trying to construct a stage on our former Regal Mill site. We've been, Ware Shoals Regal Mill site has been a project that we've been working on for many years. It's been, as of right now, this location has a 3-foot topsoil cover that we have satisfied all the recommendations of DHEC, and we have now, phase 1 was to construct an amphitheater, so we have the grading and all that's been done to prepare for that. So now we're in the process of building the stage. When we first started looking at stages, we seen one that the city of Gaffney had, and we got some preliminary numbers from Gaffney. Tipton Pitts, who was our architect, he got those numbers for us, and it was around $91,000 just to construct the stage structure. So we took that to PARD. We took that to one of the meetings, and we requested that from the PARD funds, and we got the $91,000 to construct the stage with. When we put the project out for bids, we ended up coming in. One of our bids was from, and then you can see on the information I provided you with, that we have one bid was Town and Country at $207,000, and another one was from a company in Anderson, a little over $300,000. So Town and Country was our lowest bidder, and we were able to work with them, and we got the cost down. We made many cuts, and I'll tell you exactly what we had to cut. We cut the south and east concrete walks, the east 7 steps, gravel leading to the back of the stage, minimize grading, minimize silt fencing, change the stage walls from stucco to split face block, remove screen wall. Cost of this screen wall was going to be $7,000. Removed electrical work and did include the electrical sleeving. Once we did all that, we were able to get our cost down to $139,500. And at that point, we started trying to figure out other ways that we could pull from other things. So we had the $91,000 that we provided with PARD, and then a 20% match from the town of Ware Shoals, which would be $18,200. We had actually put for this project, for this amphitheater, we had been putting $6,000 a year into a fund from our hospitality funds to construct restrooms there. So we figured that getting the stage was the most important thing. So we were able to pull 2 years from that, which gave us an additional $12,000. And then we had $10,000 in our park maintenance fund that we pulled, and I pulled $6,825 from. So that gave us that number. That gave us $128,000. And then right now we're short. If you can see right there, we're short. We had $139,000, and we had $114,500 available. So we still need $25,000 to complete this project. Now, they've already started construction on it. It's a 90-day completion date. So I was here tonight to represent the town of Ware Shoals and ask if there was any consideration of the hospitality money coming from $25,000 to help with that project. I really feel that this would be a great opportunity for the people of Ware Shoals. We in the past events we had our 4th of July event out there last year. We spent over $3,000 on stage rental and just for the sound equipment and things. So this will help us cut that cost by having this. There's additional things we're going to add to the stage, but this is just getting the stage constructed, and then we'll have to rent a canopy until we have the money, the funds to pay for that. Is there any questions I can answer? I know I went over that kind of fast.
Councilman.
Yes, sir.
You and I have had several conversations about this, and the chairman and I have had a conversation about this, but when we shared concern that those bids were so unexpectedly high.
Yes, sir.
Based on the Gaffney project.
Mm-hmm.
And I do commend you for the work you've done and with Town and Country's cooperation. But the lowest bid of the two was again what? At
200, and I'll give you the exact number.
207.
Yeah, I had it on the page. It was 207.
207,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you cut that to one.
Yeah, we cut it down to 139.5.
So you cut it.
And Town and Country was great with working with us. They helped us make those cuts.
So you cut it almost $70,000. Okay.
You may have covered this, but is there any other regular accommodations tax or any other funding from the county associated with this project?
Just the PARD money is what we received.
Okay.
91,000 from that.
Any other questions by council?
Yeah, how will the people who come to events sit? Will is it just a grassy slope?
Yes, it has been. They've elevated it. It's elevated up. It's been graded by Town and Country actually did that first phase. That was completed before I came on council. And the next phase, they were going to start building the fence, and they were going to put bathrooms in. And we kind of thought the stage was the most important because we've been having to pay for a rental on that. So we kind of changed our plan a little bit, and we're going in that direction.
It's almost a green space amphitheater from the
Yes,
way I view
it is. And it makes this space, it's a 17-acre site, and we're not using the entire 17 acres, but this space has been unused for years, and this would give us an opportunity to put the space to use as well.
And once this is constructed, if you get the $25,000, would that be a turnkey project? I mean, it'll be done and you won't be back asking for electrical?
Oh, no, sir. No,
Some
sir.
other associated part of
sir.
this project?
No, sir.
This means it will be completed and will be usable.
Yes, we'll be able to use the stage. The only additions that we hope to make later on, which we're going to seek funds through PARD, is the canopy, which is about $40,000 just to put the canopy over. So that would be the only additional cost. And then there's some electrical work for $17,000 if we need. But we have power there now that we can make it usable as of right now with just what we need right now.
Any other questions by council?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just make one comment. I believe that with what we have going on in our country right now, outdoor venues are going to be something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of because it does give the opportunity to separate people in a fresh environment. So I'm certainly willing to support it. I think we're going to see more of this, more of a need for this in our community. So I commend you for what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for your time.
Mr. Manager, would you provide, or someone, would you provide us with the availability of funding from the hospitality tax?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. County Council budgeted $92,900 in what I would call discretionary H-tax funding for the year. You've committed $42,900 of that to date, so you have roughly $43,000 available.
The money is available. Is there anything else on the horizon that you see at this time? I know we can't.
You'll have a few more, you pay the light bill for the parking lot and the lights out on Highway 72 bridge, so you have a few more months of that, but nothing that would appreciably affect that number.
Okay. Things that we normally find light on the lake and things like that's all.
Those have all been dealt with
Okay.
differently.
Council, you have heard the report of Mr. Ross. You have heard the financial report of the county manager. What is your pleasure?
I move to approve, Chairman.
I have a motion by Mr. Lane to grant the request, which would be $25,000. Do I have a second?
I second that
I
motion.
have a
Mr.
second
Chairman.
by Mr. Allison. Do you have any further questions or the comments by council? Any other information you need to vote? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion, signify by raising the right hand. All opposed by the same, and that is unanimous. Is Mr. Templeton here?
He is, and he raised his hand.
Mr. Templeton votes in favor, so that is 7-0. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you very much.
We have consideration of approving the Greenwood County 2020-2021 CTC road paving list. Rhett Templeton, Assistant County Engineer. Welcome, Rhett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet, we've submitted a list of roads for this year's paving list. Our CTC meeting is scheduled to be held next Thursday. We're hoping to take this list before then next week for consideration. As you can see, we've got 17 roads on this list, about 7 of them expected to be done based on our normal allotment. We typically get between $400,000 and $500,000 depending on gas taxes and how that's working out. That puts us roughly at that 7 road mark, give or take, and that's what we're looking to approve at this point. We do like to have a larger list than that just 7 that I have on there. Sometimes we get more funding. Sometimes we're able to get to the end of the project and be able to do some additional work, whether it be patching or some other work on some of the roads further down the list that may not be able to do a full road, but we can do a little bit of extra work. So we try to do that work and use as much of that money as we can for the betterment of the roads. But this is the list we're considering, and I have to take any questions.
So, the first 7 roads on the list is what you,
That's what I'd expect to get cut. I mean, that's the cutoff for what I expect to be able to be.
just a point of information. It seems that the roads in Harborside are being repaved, unusually quick, since that is a fairly new subdivision. Is there a reason?
The condition of those roads have been poor, and that was identified. Honestly, if you go back, that's been identified to our 2017, 2018 list. We're actually trying to finish out our 2017, 2018 list. Just the overall condition of those were warranted through our road department and review.
Is that an indication of the original paving was not?
Potentially, I can't say for sure. I wasn't involved with that process or in the review, but there's some fatigue, cracking, things of that nature. So it could be numerous issues that could have led to it, but it is deteriorating.
Any other questions by council? Thank you, Red.
Thank you, sir.
Council, what is your pleasure?
Guess we have to do it.
What is your pleasure?
So move, we accept the recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Mose,
Second.
second by Mr. Allison. Comments or questions? All in favor? Mr. Templeton,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna have to speak up.
Yes, sir. I voted in the affirmative.
Thank you. Our next item of business is a review of the accommodations tax and hospitality tax awards for events and festivals and dispositions of funds. Julie Latham, Deputy Treasurer. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You guys have a list of the festivals that accommodations and hospitality tax funds have been awarded to. We're starting to get questions now as one of these has already been definitively canceled and others may be as to how we want to handle that funding. I do know that even on the one that has been canceled, some of the funds have already been spent, as most of the accommodations tax funds are for advertising and marketing. So I'm here today to ask how council would like to handle that. I think under state regulations for the funds that have been spent, they still need to turn in the normal accountability report that they normally send to me after the event for those funds. But is it, would you guys like for them to send us the money back and then us re-award it the next cycle, or have them hang on to it until next year's event?
Does your office have a recommendation?
I think what we recommend is that they, for what they do spend, that they do send the accountability report and then they send the money back to us and we'll just put it in the pool to award the next round.
It seems to me that if we allow them to retain the funds, the projects that they fund next year may not receive the scrutiny from county council as the process allows for. So it seems like your recommendation is the more appropriate one. You'll have a task of having to get it back from them, but, Mr. Manager, is that your recommendation also?
It is, Mr. Chairman. Also, I think if you allow them to carry it forward, you almost retard council's oversight of it because you don't know who may apply next year and that funding will have already been allocated. So I would rather you follow the Deputy Treasurer's advice, let them account for the money they've spent thus far, return what they haven't spent, and then council can make reappropriations next year. And I think it gives us the flexibility because everyone hasn't decided yet, so they can hold on to it until they make a decision where they're going to have it, and then we can apply the same rule across the board.
And not everyone has made a final decision on canceling their event.
Correct.
Okay, just the ones which have canceled. Council, you have heard the explanation and you have heard the recommendation. Is everybody clear on what the recommendation is? It is to have them account for any money that's been spent to this point. If they have not spent any monies, they would be returned to the county treasurer, and then they would be free to reapply in the next funding cycle for any monies.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I understand correctly, we only have 3 who have not taken their funding. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I actually did receive the award letters for 2 of those last week, and that was the Festival of Flowers and Lights on the Lake. So those checks will go out this week.
Okay.
And the only reason the veterans have not received theirs yet is because I need to sit down with the new director to make sure that the project is still a go, since Mr. Bolt was the one that applied for the funding and he's since left.
So we only have 1 then,
Mm-hmm.
and that is which one on here?
That's the Veterans Center.
The Veterans Wall. Okay.
You ready to vote? What is your pleasure? Do I have a motion and a second regarding their recommendation?
Move to approve as presented, Chairman.
I have a motion by Mr. Lane and a second by Ms. Spencer that we approve the recommendation as presented by the treasurer's office. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Mr. Templeton?
I voted in affirmative, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. The next item of business is appointments of tax district commissioners. Kathy Miller, County Treasurer.
Mr. Chairman, tonight we have for you the reappointment of 2 existing commissioners and the appointment of a new commissioner. So for Magnolia Place, Mr. Bernard Watson, to reappoint him. His term expired actually in 2018, but he is ready to sign up for another term. We also have the reappointment of Mr. John Anderson, who also is currently, his term has expired, will expire April the 20th. That is in the Virgin Heights subdivision, Mr. Lane. And then the third one is for Winding Creek subdivision, Mr. Templeton, for the new appointment of Mr. Joshua Williams. He's expiring, and the appointment of Mr. Randolph Barnes to take the position of Mr. Joshua Williams, who is no longer able to serve. So those are the 3 appointments for this evening.
You've heard the recommendations. What is your pleasure, council?
Question, please, Chairman, before we go on. Kathy, I'm looking at the application. Is it proper for the nominee to sign as a recommender?
It is if he is an existing tax commissioner.
Thank you.
What is your pleasure, council?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Allison,
Second.
second by Ms. Childs. Any questions? All in favor? Mr. Templeton?
Yes, sir, in affirmative.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. We need to reappoint the members of the Airport Advisory Group. Rob Russian, County Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Airport Advisory Group was created by resolution back in 2010. Consists of 5 members who advise the airport, the county staff on running of the airport. As the county staff typically are not pilots, and currently Mr. Templeton, Red Templeton, and myself are not pilots. We rely on this group to give us a perspective of pilots. There are 3 current members who have expressed a desire to be reappointed. That is Mr. Bo Bowman, Mike Turner, and Rick Trammell. Typically, this group consists of 5 individuals. We're still working on filling the other 2. We're getting recommendations for the other 2 positions. But because these appointments expired back in February of their 2-year terms, back in February of this year, we'd like to get these 3 reappointed and then work on getting the other 2 filled. So we're submitting these 3 names for reappointment to the Airport Advisory Group. And take any questions you might have.
Do all 3 of these people reside within Greenwood County?
They do.
Any questions? Thank you, Rob.
Let me ask a question. Mr. Trammell is our FBO out there, right?
That is correct.
Is that an appointed position that council gives to him in addition to being on the advisory committee?
He leases the space out there. He also runs a couple of businesses out at that area, but he leases the space from the county. To be honest, I'm not sure how he was originally appointed. He's been there for quite some time as the FBO. I'm not sure what that process was originally where he was assigned the FBO on there. There's many airports now.
I can't remember either, so.
Yeah, I'd have to research a little bit of how that was. I would assume there was some sort of process, some sort of bidding process, something for that. I'm not sure that he was directly appointed, but I'd have to research that.
Does the fact that he operates businesses from the airport create a conflict for him in that capacity?
Again, this advisory group, they don't have any real authority to make any decisions out there. They're advising us on what's going on at the airport from a pilot's perspective. He is integral to that process as he's there on a daily, him and his people are there on a daily basis. He's the only member that's there on a daily basis. So him being a part of that group, whether it's an appointed member, whether it's ad hoc, whatever, he needs to be there at this meeting.
Because it's recommendation only.
Correct.
The first thought I had was dual office holding, but since it's a recommendation only, that should be okay.
Yeah, there's no real authority in any decisions they make.
Okay.
Any other questions? Heard the recommendation. What is your pleasure?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. We accept these nominees.
Motion by Mr. Mudge, second by Mr. Lane. All in favor? Mr.
Yes, sir,
Templeton?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That is unanimous. Appreciate it. We have Resolution 2020-11 accepting a bid for the construction of an EMS fire station on the site of the Wheelbank Sports Complex and to make a transfer of funds from the EMS Construction Fund 375, the Special Appropriations Fund 200, and the Fire Operations Fund 215 for the construction of the proposed facility. Mr. Rushing.
This project has quite a past or history. The project originally started design back in 2016. The original purpose for this building was a EMS station. It since has grown into a EMS/fire station. This is on the site next to the old Civic Center. Before going out to bid, we presented this project to council at a meeting. We had some comments at that time that we included in our bid package. The project was competitively bid. We received 5 bids. The space is about 1,500 square foot of office space and about 3,300 square foot of bay space. Project came in above some of the original estimates due to a whole host of factors, but mostly because we're increased the scope of the project itself by including the fire in there as well. Low bid at our original presentation to council, the idea of putting a standing seam roof on the building. The building was originally designed for a asphalt shingle roof. After talking with council, we included an alternate to the bid of a standing seam metal roof on the building. So we had a base bid of a building with a shingle roof, and then an added bid or an addition there for a price on a building with a standing seam roof. That led to 2 different bidders to be considered as a low bid. The low bid for a asphalt shingle roof was W.T. Murphy Construction out of West Columbia at about $872,000, and the low bid with a standing seam metal roof is Greenwood Construction out of Greenwood at a low bid of $931,000, almost $932,000. In addition to these 2 bids, we have some additional costs with the CPW to install the water and the fire vault on first. I want to give you just a brief, very brief rundown of the 2 companies that are considered the low bidders here. W.T. Murphy Construction is out of West Columbia. They do have a South Carolina general contractor's license. They will be subbing out all the mechanical work as far as heat and air, plumbing and electrical. Been in business 20 plus years. They do have extensive experience with governments to include DOT, the Forestry Commission, Lexington County, Pickens County, and Kershaw County. They have built a fire station for Pickens County near Dacusville, South Carolina, and they're currently working in Kershaw County on a 5,000 square foot voter registration building, a complete remodel of it. The project was originally bid on April 2nd. We're outside of the 30 days that contractors are to hold their bid prices. They will honor the original pricing in the bid package for a period of time yet, as long as we act expeditiously. And they do believe that there's some value engineering to be done to lower the cost a little bit without losing the quality of the building. That's W.T. Murphy Construction out of West Columbia. They hold the low bid for an asphalt shingle roof, if we want to have an asphalt shingle roof on it. As far as the standing seam metal roof, the low bid is a local company, Greenway Construction Group. They are out of Greenwood, South Carolina. They also hold a South Carolina general contractor license, as well as a South Carolina mechanical license, although they will also sub out mechanical work, heat and air, electrical and plumbing to local subcontractors. They've been in business since 1977, and they have extensive experience with Greenwood County. Done multiple projects over the years with us, including the landfill operations center, remodeling of Park Plaza, courthouse remodeling, multiple buildings and projects for Parks and Rec. They built the original first spec building for the county in 1987, which is the Kaiser Aluminum Building, and recently have done some work in Abbeville County on their recycle center as well. They've constructed the Caterpillar Building and several other buildings in the Lowe's development for Lowe's Hardware. Just numerous buildings around Greenwood, way too many to list over the years. They also will honor their original pricing, even though they're outside the 30-day window. Again, as long as we act expeditiously on the decision. They also added that all materials that can be bought locally will be bought locally as part of their project. So you have two different companies here, two different bids. Again, the total cost, we'll get back to cost here, but the total cost for the project, if we go with a standing seam roof, which staff recommends, is the preferred option. Total cost for the project is around $976,000. And then we have broken down where that funding would come from. $150,000 from the EMS Construction Fund, $425,000 from Special Operations Fund, another $425,000 from Fire Operations Fund. I ran through that very quickly. We have a couple of decisions to make. One is whether we want a standing seam roof or not. Again, staff recommends to go with Greenway Construction, the standing seam roof, for the higher price. It is a much better roof. The original design of the building was designed for asphalt shingles, but maintenance and otherwise, standing seam is preferred.
Rob, the gap in the two initial bids, if I want to make sure I read correctly and I'm understanding what I'm about to vote on. The gap between the two was what was the initial gap?
So,
how much?
It's like between
Well, here's the question. Here's what I want to clarify. The Greenwood company was recommending the metal roof all along?
No.
Everyone bid the metal roof as an alternative.
Okay.
So we have a base bid where W.T. Murphy out of West Columbia was the low bid. Greenway Construction on the base bid with asphalt shingle roof was approximately, W.T. Murphy was at $872,000 and Greenway Construction was at $897,000. So you have $25,000 difference between the two. When you add in the alternative standing seam roof, Greenway Construction was doing that at a much lower price. Then Greenway Construction becomes the low bidder if you go with the standing seam metal roof.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure.
What was the price from W.T. Murphy for the standing seam roof?
The standing seam metal roof,
Plus 107.
so it's $872
Plus 107.
plus 107. You're right at $979, right at $980,000 as compared to Greenway's price of $931. There's a huge difference there with the standing
And it's a
seam.
local vendor.
And it's their local vendor.
That's easy to vote for me. Thank you.
So again, one deciding on whether we want standing seam or asphalt, and then providing the second question is providing the funding sources to that. As this is not a budget item as per se, we need county council's approval for for the budget.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Do you expect to get any relief from the CPW, Mr. Manager?
I have asked the CPW and they are taking it, the general manager is taking it to the board, so I think it's a crapshoot on that.
This is being done inside the city of Greenwood. They do that for free. Since we are now, working in a partnership with the city, it seems like, they should give consideration to providing at least some help with this. And that station will be answering calls inside of the city.
Sure.
I don't have to tell you what I think about this charge.
CPW aware of that cooperation?
I've spoken to the general manager, he's taking it to the CPW board.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions by council? Everybody okay? Do I have a motion regarding the recommendation, which is, $976,336 with no change orders?
All right, so so the resolution that you have before you includes both the approval of the bid for Greenway construction at their bid price, and then sets forth the transfer funds for the total funding of the project. The transfer fund, or the total funding of the project, adds up to exactly $1 million. Both the Greenway construction bid and the CPW cost adds up to $976. There's a $24,000 difference there. That's for any issues along the way for
Change orders.
if there is a change order. Both contractors, and talking with them today, have expressed an interest in doing some value engineering to lower their bids after once a contractor is chosen.
Mr. Manager, I have one other question. Since we're taking $425,000 from the Fire Operations Fund, is this in any way going to harm fire operations for Greenwood County if we take this money out of the fund? Is there any project that we have anticipated funding, any activity that will not be completed because we are using this money for the building?
The short answer to your question is no. It's coming out of the fund balance, so it's not coming out of the operating budget. There will be a discussion in the next few months about using some capital project sales tax money, but I don't think this decision will affect the fire operations, to answer your question directly.
Okay.
Now, Steve Holmes is here, and if he has a different answer, you might want to let him answer, but that's my answer.
Mr. Holmes, you have anything to add?
No, so I think we'll be fine with it coming out of the fund balance. Mr. Chapter just told there's something running, but I don't think that affects this.
Thank you. Are you ready to vote?
Well, Mr. Chairman, on the bright side, if CPW waives the $44,000, that gives us a little more money to work with.
Sure.
So, maybe they'll see correctly to do the right thing.
Okay, I need a motion that we approve the bid as presented and to approve the transfer of the funding as recommended.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Moats. Second by Ms. Spencer. Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Mr. Templeton?
Yes, sir, in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rob. We have two items of business, which is first reading and title only. There will be no vote. Ordinance 2020-07, approving and consenting to a First Amendment to lease agreement by and among Greenwood County, South Carolina, and Project Green Bee. This is in title only. Number two is ordinance 2020-08 to amend the village and cottages at Palmetto Crossing Plan Development District, being ordinance 2018-13 as and if amended so that the Plan Development District Master Plan will allow a pavilion and golf cart parking, and that is in title only. Is there any other business? If not, district reports, Ms. Childs.
I do have just a short report. First of all, I'd like to thank our county manager and the staff for keeping us updated with the coronavirus here in South Carolina and here in Greenwood. And I'd also like to thank him personally for his helping us to serve the first responders on Saturday. He and Annabelle worked really hard, and we appreciate that as they helped us to serve them their meals. And we served over 200 meals on Saturday. And as we continue to pray for those who have placed themselves in harm's way, to assist us, and for those families who are going through the pandemic right now, and those who lost family members. Personally, I have had my share. Had a cousin that was buried last Monday, and I just had a call from Philadelphia, so probably the other cousin now, so I'll call him later. So they all are dying from the coronavirus. So let's keep these people in our prayers.
Mr. Allison,
No report from District 2, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Spencer,
No report from
Mr. Moats,
No report, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Lane.
Chairman, only that I would add that I think Greenwood County has done an excellent job in managing this crisis, both from the standpoint of communications coming from our county manager's office, as well as George McKinney's involvement with keeping supplies in front of. And the reason I want to point this out is, you all know, in my day job, I represent a number of rural counties across South Carolina. And one of the things I've been doing in the last 2 weeks is delivering personal protective equipment to those rural counties whose supply chains have just been dismal. And to show you how, I had this conversation with George earlier today to demonstrate to you just how dismal some of those have been. My counterpart in Florence, after the distribution of masks and sanitizing gel, said that when she took the donation that we made to Chesterfield County, that the emergency management director started crying. We in that jurisdiction, we donated 700 masks and I forgot, maybe a dozen gallons of sanitizing gel. But he told us at the time that throughout this process, this was last week, by the way, that he's only had 100 masks throughout this process. And on my way to Florence last week, I talked with my friend who's a sheriff in Newberry County, and he told me that all supplies in Newberry County had gone to the hospital, and he didn't even have masks for his deputies. So I made a drop-off on the way. But it just, to me, validates how well we've done, Chairman, in managing both our resources and our communications. Thank you.
Mr. Templeton.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Templeton. Let me just say, I see on Facebook where, thank you, Mr. Moses, for turning my microphone off at the end of turning it on.
I just realized it was off. I could hear you in my
I
goodness.
see on Facebook where a lot of people, and I don't think there's any ill will in this. It's just, it just stands out to me. People are coming in and they're bringing food in for certain people in the county, and it's usually around first responders, and we all know what our first responders are doing, and many of you in the room. But I also want you to know that I think we understand what all of you do. And it's just not one group in the county that keeps this county running, and they do a tremendous job. But those of you behind the scenes who come to your office every day and work, take care of the delinquent tax, take care of the accounting, take care of the planning and all of that, it may not shine as bright as some other services in the county, but you do a tremendous job, and we know that without you, we would not be what we are today. So I want you to make sure tonight that you know we do appreciate what you do, and thank you for doing such a good job. I have been so impressed with how well things have run, and y'all have worked out the distancing, y'all have worked out the work at home, There's just so much that's taken place, and it seems like y'all have given it your all. I hope in a few weeks we'll be back to some sense of normalcy. But thank you so very much for what you do, and let's just hope and pray that this we are on a downward trend, and that we can all celebrate sometime in the future. But thank you so much. Mr. Manager, do you have a report?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Attorney,
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk of Council,
No report.
then we need to go into executive session, and I would ask for those matters to be made known.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, we need to enter into executive session for 6 matters, 3 of which are economic development, Project Wood, Project Bellterm, and Project Greenwood. 1 contractual matter involving the FY21 budget, 1 receipt of legal advice regarding potential litigation, and 1 personnel issue involving the Public Works Department.
You've heard the explanation as to why we need to go in executive session. I assume we're gonna be in the big room so we can
We'll be in the
spread out.
admin room.
Admin room. Do I have a motion and a second that we adjourn to executive session?
So,
Motion by Mr. Mopes and second by Ms. Childs. I'll choose. Any other comments? All in favor? And we will adjourn to executive session. Thank you folks for coming. Appreciate it very much.